I'm here. Let's get straight to it. I'm right back at you like I never left, and I'm gonna go this hard to my last breath. It's Lil Kenny Russell, Kanoom, Consul, Moon. You already know what you're gonna give me. You step in this room, you're now dealing with Kanoom. Yeah, yeah, I'm here. And while I'm here, I'm gonna make the information direct and clear because a lot of y'all can't hear. Yeah, yeah. Now, welcome back to Make My Ancestors Great Again. This is another episode of My Thoughts. This is My Thoughts 200, and I'm proud of myself for having 200 of these My Thoughts, and all of them are thought provoking, especially to people that's been indoctrinated. Every My Thoughts on this channel is something to think about, whether it spearheads a polemic, a debate, or some people deem, oh, this is in need of correction. That's all good. So this is the 200th episode, and today I want to talk about God, okay, and these 10 commandments. Now I'm going to show you the 10 commandments, but I'm going to um, give my interpretation of them to show you that at this time, again, this was never God speaking. And as I always state, God is the man that speaks for God. This is brought to us by Moses. See, without Moses, you can't have no God. You don't find that difficult or puzzling. Without Moses, there's no God recorded in the scriptures. That's a fact because the first five books of Moses, the Old Testament or the Torah, excuse me, okay? Moses is telling us God said all this stuff. Moses is writing this down. He's the narrator. Gotta understand that. That's very key. Number one, this is brought to us by Moses. Now, uh, in the commandments, is going to say, I brought you out of Egypt, and now these are the commandments. Rule number one, don't have any gods before me. That's an acknowledgement of polytheism. Okay. This God, according to Moses, because God is the man that speaks for God. And this is Moses saying this because at this time, Moses is God. He's telling you what God is saying. Don't have any gods before me. Now, that just came out of a polytheistic um, culture in Egypt, said by Moses. So, in the pantheon of all the gods across the universe and the planets, throughout the heavens, the earth, underwater, all this stuff, this is what he's going to state. Moses saying, God is saying in the commandments, don't have any of those gods before me. See, he's okay with them being there and he acknowledges that they exist. The thing in the commandments is, and why it's a commandment, is just don't put them before me. This is how the story goes. Now I'm going to show you that. Let's look at it. Okay. So this is an acknowledgement of polytheism, which means that this God, the Hebrew God, the Christian God, and the Muslim God, they all acknowledge polytheism. See? And they're fine with it because a monotheistic understanding is, hey, there's no other God but this God. It don't say don't put the other gods before me. It said there's no other gods on the planet except for me. I'm all you can deal with. There's no other gods. That's that's monotheistic. This is an acknowledgement of polytheism, and this is for people to continue on what they're doing. Just don't put them gods before me. Acknowledge me first, put me up ahead of the other pantheon of gods, and put me first. But if you don't, see, I'm a jealous God. So all this is said in the first commandments. Let's look at this. And I'm gonna stop it and give my narration. This is Genesis 20, 1 through 6 or 1 through 7, I believe. Let's look at it.
Chapter 20. Then God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery.
I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, the house and the land of slavery. Okay, let's continue.
You shall have no other gods before me.
You shall have no other gods before me. Again, remember what I said in concerning or in regards of monotheism. A monotheist will say there's no other gods except this one. That's monotheism. You can look it up however you want to cut it. This says, don't worship any other gods before me, or don't put them before me. I mean, if they're gods, you have to worship them, right? Let's continue.
You shall not make for yourself an idol or any likeness of what is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the water under the earth.
You shall not make any idol of what's in the heavens above, what's on the earth, or what's under the water. Okay, let me play that back a little bit.
Me. You shall not make for yourself an idol or
You should not make for yourself an idol or an image
any likeness of what
or any likeness of
is in heaven above, or on the earth beneath,
what's in heaven above or on the earth beneath
or in the water under the earth.
or in the water under the earth. Now he's acknowledging that all these places has gods. See, don't make no idol or image concerning your worship to these gods that's up in the heaven. See, he knows there's other gods around the heavens, according to Moses. This is God talking, but Moses is the narrator. You don't get to have God without Moses. He's saying the gods in the heaven, the gods on the earth, and the gods under the water. Do not worship them before me. Why?
You shall not worship them or serve them.
You should not worship them or serve them. See, he acknowledges that they're there. That's why he's saying them. If it was no other gods but one, you will be clear on that. I'm the only God. That's it. There ain't no need to explain it. Why not? I'm the only God. Why I can't worship nothing else? Who else you gonna worship? I'm the only God. It's this or nothing. That's monotheism. This is an acknowledgement of polytheism. And he's okay with it as long as you don't put the other gods before him. This is for the Jews, the Hebrews, the Christians, and the Muslims, if they acknowledge this, which they all do.
For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God.
Why shouldn't I worship the other gods that you spoke about in heaven, earth, underwater, or something that you made up by hand? Because I am a jealous God. Your God, I'm a jealous God. That's why you shouldn't worship them. Nothing else. Not that they don't exist. See, not that this is an acknowledgement of monotheism. Why? Because they don't exist. That's monotheism. Why shouldn't I worship these other gods you speak about? Because I get jealous. He didn't say because they don't exist. See, you got to listen to this stuff.
Visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, on the third and the fourth generations of those who hate me.
He will put the iniquities on the children and the father and all third and fourth generation of those who hate him. Okay. Anybody that hate this man, he'll put it all the way down to the third or fourth generation. Put all the iniquities down on all your family. Okay, children and father. This how jealous he get. Because the other guys, he don't want them before him.
But showing loving kindness to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments.
But showing love
Chapter 20.
thousands of those who love me and who will keep my commandments. Again, what is the commandment? Thou shalt not put gods before me or have any other gods before me. What does that mean in layman's term? It's an acknowledgement and it's an acceptance of other gods. He knows they're there and you're free to worship them, but you should not put them before me. This is Yahweh. This is Yehuda, Yahawashai, Yahabashah, Bahamashah, Bakish, Badim, all these names, silly, stupid names that you Hebrews want to call them. This is Jesus the Christ. This is his Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Trinity, silly stupidness. This is the Allah. This is the Muhammad and all the rest of these people who acknowledge the Old Testament to get to their books, because in the Quran, you have the Old Testament, you have the Psalms, and you have the New Testament. It's a fact in all Qurans. So they acknowledge this stupidity too. But then in the back end, turn around and say that they're monotheists because Allah, there's no God but Allah. So they do acknowledge that, but they acknowledge that the commandments is pure because they acknowledge all the apostles and prophets as being they validate that. They give it validity. They say that the Bible is true. It's been tampered with, but the Bible is true because it brings them to the Quran, which is the true thing given to them by this angel Gabriel, okay? Given to an illiterate man who can't even read. If he wrote it down and read it back, he couldn't read or write. So that's silly. But this is an acknowledgement of monotheism. I'm sorry, of polytheism. This is an acceptance of polytheism, a polytheistic way of life, because they just came out of Egypt, who would have had a pantheon of gods. And you can have any one of your choice, but don't put them before me. That's all the 10 Commandments is. And they're commandments. If you do, he will put the iniquities of your children and your fathers on all your family to the third and fourth generation. That's a curse. And he's telling you, he's stating, if you put these guys before me, or when you do, because you can do whatever you desire, that makes me a jealous God. That's my thoughts on the video. It's a little Kenny Russell, Kanoom, Consort Moon. You already know what you're going to get when you step in this room. You're now dealing with Kanoom. This is what I do, and I love to do it. And before I take back what I said, I add some more to it. The Bible is a book of lies, number one. This is brought to you by Moses. The first 5 books is narrated and brought to you by Moses. God wasn't right there with him when this happened. Okay. In the beginning of the world, when God created Adam and Eve, it wasn't no Moses. But yet and still, Moses wrote all that down and brought it to you and said, this is how Genesis go. Okay. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and I thank you for watching. If you feel like you want to do something for me, like and subscribe because it won't cost you a fee. Education and preparation is the first step to retaliation. So before you pick up a weapon or a silly religion, pick up some knowledge. This is not to take religion from you. This is to restore spirituality, which was taken from you at the time religion was given to you. Now you're a slave to Allah. You're a slave to Buddha. You're a slave to Yahuwah, Yeshua, Akim, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahuwah. You're a slave to Jesus the Christ. You're a slave to Muhammad. You see? If anybody is offended by anything you heard, I mean every word. Yeah, yeah.